Broadcast is live, is what it says.
You're good to go.
All right, it's Tech Tuesday. That's right, Tech Tuesday. You know what time it is? Do you know what time it is? It's Tech Tuesday at 2. Tech Tuesday at 2. That's right. This is Jerry Franklin Poe with my man, Greg Russell. Now, I'm not sure if everyone knows Greg or has heard of Greg. Greg and I have been friends for a long time now. I've lost count a number of years. And Greg is an entrepreneur in his own right. He's been in the marketing business, in the marketing field as an entrepreneur for over 20 years now. And the reason why I work with Greg is because I have no idea of all the technology that's out there, and I don't have the time to figure it all out. And anytime I have an issue, anytime I want to figure out a solution, I usually ask Greg, well, what should I do for this? And it amazes me. Every time I ask him something, he will always pull out a bag of tricks. And he's like, oh, man, that's what you want to do? You want to automate your email sequence? All right, great. Here's a tool for that. You don't want to have to worry about responding to this or responding to that. He always has a tool that I never heard of, don't even know where he finds this stuff. And it saves me a lot of time. I'm a strong believer in allowing resources to eliminate manual labor. And Greg has become my expert that I have on my team to help me automate my systems, automate my business so I can have more time with my family, more time with my kids. Now, usually that would be a stellar situation, but we're in that Corona world right now. And I tell you, I have a lot of extra time with the wife and kids. I've been home more now than I've been, and I don't know how many years. But I do want to tell you this, for those of you who are listening to this broadcast, if you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a solo entrepreneur, you have your own employees, your team, or even if you're doing a part-time entrepreneur, your business success will be tied to the experts that you work with. Charlie Tremendous Jones, there was a quote that I read probably 25 years ago that said, the person you are today, you'll be that exact same person 5 years from now, except for the people that you work with, the books that you read, and at the time he said tapes that you listen to, but that was 25 years ago. No one's listening to tapes anymore that I'm aware of. Most folks are listening to some type of download or MP3. But the key to what he said was experts that you were going to be working with. And you're taking notes. You want to put this down, write this down. If you're not taking notes, make a mental note. The next time you get to your phone, type it in or jot it down. He said that your expertise is based on your team of experts. Your expertise is based on your team of experts. So how smart you look in your business, how smart you will look in life isn't about how much you know, but the people that you can associate with, how much they know. And I believe in Proverbs, the Bible, it says that there is wisdom in a multitude of counselors. So one of my experts is Greg, which is why it was easy for me to agree to partner with him for these Tech Tuesdays to share with you, the audience, the conversations that we have between each other. We talk at least once or twice a week, and we'll be going back and forth, picking each other's brains. And my idea was, if other folks could hear these conversations, the things that we're saying to ourselves between each other, it might be able to benefit a lot of folks. And since we both had the time to be broadcasting live because we're not traveling as much. I usually travel a lot, and we're not traveling as much as we used to, or not at all, actually. I haven't traveled. I haven't been on a plane in months. That this would be a time we could use this quarantine part of our lives, quarantine time, to share with folks some of the insider conversations that we had. And last week we were talking about what platforms or tools to use. I'm a speaker. One of the areas that Greg focuses on with his clientele are coaches, speakers, trainers. And as a person who used to be out in the room talking to folks, now we're doing this more virtual world, and we don't know how long this virtual experience is going to last. And within the self-quarantine environment, I know at this point in time, people are talking about opening up the states and opening up the country. But last week, we talked about how to pick the right platforms. What do you need as a business owner who is in this space where you're presenting, teaching, training, coaching folks? what do you need? We talked about how you would need to have a conference platform, some platform that lets you do meetings, as well as a webinar platform. And today we want to focus on one of the popular platforms that people have been subscribing to, which is Zoom. Over the last month and a half, I've heard more about Zoom than I've ever heard in years. One of the reasons is because Zoom strategically made their software free to a lot of the schools. So my daughters are on Zoom every single day now with their teachers, their music teachers for their instrument lessons, their reading, their math. They're having Zoom meetings and Zoom office hours. So the problem that has occurred is there are a lot of folks who are using Zoom who have never, ever used that type of platform before. So they don't even know how to set it up properly. So my question to Greg was, well, as a person that's new and they're using a platform for the first time, what are some of the things they should be aware of? And what we decided to do is share three hot ideas that are being underutilized when it comes to Zoom, things that people aren't taking advantage of, or those who are taking advantage of, they're not using them as much as they could. And on top of that, we also want to make sure that you have the proper settings. One of the things that occurred over the last month was this idea of Zoom bombing, where people were interrupting other folks' Zoom sessions with disruptive behavior, disruptive content. So how do you set up the platform properly so you have total control? And what I want you to think about as you're listening to Greg and myself today is think about Zoom, the meeting platform. Think about it the exact same way you would think about your seminar room or your meeting room. I know personally, I always like to check out the room the night before. I like to get comfortable with the meeting space to make sure that the front of the room is set up the way I need it to be. Where is the head table, right, my presenter table? Where's the projector going to be? I take control of that space so it becomes extremely comfortable for me to present in, usually the night before. And as a presenter, the same thing should be done with your meeting platform. You should be looking at, how do I set my meeting platform so I control the experience so my client, my customer, my attendee has the best possible user experience and I have the best possible presenter experience. So Greg, let's just start off probably with looking at the some of the settings. And what are some of the common mistakes that you think people are making as a host? Like, what are people doing? What should they be doing, or what aren't they doing as a host to set it up properly so they make sure they have control over the platform?
I think that as a host, the most important thing is knowing what the attendee, the person watching the presentation, can experience. And I think being able to instruct them on what to do so that you can have the best experience. I think I've seen and heard of a lot of Zoom meetings kind of going or having disruptive material because either the host couldn't instruct people or they didn't take control of certain elements like people's microphones or cameras in the very beginning. So as a host, as someone who's having a meeting, you can control those things. And I think one of the biggest mistakes is not knowing that you can do that. And then knowing that you can do it is one thing. And then being able to do it is the second part. So being able to control the meeting from as the presenter.
So what are what type of controls do you recommend a person do? Like, are there certain settings that you think everyone should, as the host now, are there certain settings you'd recommend everyone utilize to take control? So for example, if I was teaching a person about what to look for in a room and they're like doing a meeting space, I was like, well, one of the things I look for is how much space is between the chairs and the tables and the rows to make it easier for people to get in and out. How much space is there between myself on stage and the audience, and what the view would be like from every seat in the room. I was watching something recently, and it was Eddie Griffith, the comedian, and he was talking about when he's on stage, what he would do is go in the big arenas. He would go all the way to the last seat, the very last seat where the last person could possibly be sitting. and sit in the, or his back is all the way against the wall, and see what it's like from their view, because he knew when he's on stage, that's the person he needs to be speaking to. He needs to project into that last person. So from a meeting, now that we're going physical more to virtual, what are some of the things or settings a person should have set up that you would think is like a mandatory, like just the bare minimum settings within the Zoom platform?
Well, there's no perfect setting, right? It's just the settings that work for you. So you need to ask yourself certain questions, like when people enter the room, do you want their microphone to be automatically turned on or off, right? And then you have to know what that means. Like if you say, hey, I don't want anyone's microphone on when they come into the meeting, that's the settings you want. You can set that. And so then when you have your meeting, when people come in, their microphone is off. At the same time, if you want interaction or engagement with those people, you need to be able to instruct them how to turn their microphone on or to raise their hand so that you can turn it on. But so you need to figure out, how do you want it to flow, and then make sure you know how to control it from there. So things is like that, the microphone and the camera. Do you want the camera automatically to come on when they first enter the room, or do you want them to turn it on? And then once you decide that, you have to be able to instruct your attendees what to do when you want something else to happen. If you want them to turn their camera on or turn it off, or if you want them to turn their microphone on or turn it off. So you need to decide ahead of time, how do you want your meeting to flow? Do you want there to be a password? These are settings that recently, because of the security issues, they have turned that on for everyone now. So if they turned it on for everyone and you don't need that, then you can go into your settings and turn it off. So it's all about thinking about, how do I really want this to flow for me? How do I want to be able to control it? And then change your settings so that those things happen for you in your Zoom account. And I'm talking about specifically the paid Zoom account for the $14, where you have more controls over everything. The free account has still a lot of these settings in there, but some of them you don't have access to as the free account user.
Okay. So the first thing we got to establish is that there is a difference between the paid account and the free account.
That's
so
right.
There's going to be certain settings that one person would have and certain settings another person would have. That's what we're saying?
Yeah. So the free account with Zoom basically has 40 minutes where you can have a Zoom meeting for 40 minutes, and then it's going to stop. If you go past the 40 minutes, it's going to shut down. It'll turn it off for you. Now you can start another one, and you can have as many Zoom meetings as you want for 40 minutes a piece, but it will disconnect after that 40 minutes. So I was on one where someone was doing a free one, and it went over, it disconnected everybody. Before it did, it said, the presenter said, hey guys, if this one enters, just I'm going to start up another one, just come back in, use the same link. So that's what happened at that case. Also in the top left-hand corner of the Zoom, when it starts getting down to the time that it's going to disconnect, it lets you know. It has a notice right up there. It'll say, time remaining 2 minutes, time remaining 1 minute, and then click, right? So you know ahead of time. Hey, Ron, how you doing? Thanks for tuning in today, man. I see you. Blessings to you and your family. We definitely got to hook up. And for you guys who are watching live, man, let us know in the chat where you're from and where you're tuning in from. Appreciate that.
Definitely. Whatever questions you have as we are presenting, post them in the comment section. What tips that you're getting, your learning outcomes, the things that you're picking up, put that in the chat as well. Because we are here to serve you as much as possible with these broadcasts and these live streams. So one of the things I want to circle back to that you said I think was critical is that you have to ask yourself what you want the conference to be, or what you want the meeting to be like. So the settings will need to be customized to what you want. Now there's a question here. Question does the choir, does the choir, do you see that question, Greg?
Yes, I pulled it up. So Ron's asking, how does the Zoom choir work? And truthfully, I have no idea. It's the first time I'm heard of Zoom choir. And here's the thing. A lot of times people ask me, how do I learn about some of the things? Sometimes I get a lot of stuff from my clients who, just like Ron, like, hey, have you heard about this? And I'm like, no. And then I'll go research it. And that's something else I have. And then sometimes people just tell me, oh, this is this cool thing here. So if you guys have any tips or strategies, feel free to share. I absorb as much as I can as well. But I haven't heard of the Zoom choir. That's something I will look up and follow up with you guys about.
That's a new one for me, but I don't know if it has to do with singing or church. You know what I mean? Zoom for church. I don't know. That's a new one. But I do want to go back to what you said. The first question a person has to ask themselves, it would be, what do I want? So basically, the same way if I was going to my meeting space, I'm going as a presenter, if I'm going to a conference room, I'm going to a hotel, I have to know my style. Like, what is it? How do I want things set up? Because everyone has different ways they want the things to be set up. So once you know what you're looking for, then you would pick the settings to make the environment conducive to what you need. So for me, I may want to have everybody's camera turned off, everybody's mic turned off. So the first thing that people are hearing is me and not folks jumping in as people show up late. They're like interrupting the call. But someone else, they might want the meeting to start because maybe they're having a meeting and it's not just them presenting to a bunch of folks. They might want to have more interaction immediately. So they might want to have people's microphones turned on. So as people are coming in, that people are being engaged and having a conversation as soon as they start. Is that what we're saying?
Yep. And it also depends on the meeting. Sometimes if you typically meet with your same team, like if it's just a small team meeting, then maybe you want the cameras on and that's easier for you. And you can go into your settings and change them at any time. So I think that once people go into their settings, and when I say settings, I mean log into Zoom account at zoom.us, and then on the left-hand side, go to your settings. And then there's a whole list of things there that you can go through. So yeah, go through those settings.
The first thing you'd recommend people do, and I think this is something I don't want to overlook, is before people even start, I don't know what the word is. I was going to say Zooming. Before people even start Zooming or having a meeting, before people have a meeting, the best thing they should do is go through the settings just to check to see what they are.
Yep.
Would you agree with that or no?
I would, because you will discover so many things like, and especially now, even if you've had a Zoom account for a while, they've recently added a lot of things with security and a lot of different settings that you can update and change. They even made it so that this password is now default. So when you set up a Zoom meeting before, you typically just got a link and anyone can join via that link. Now they have a password that goes with it so that you have to add a password, right? And then there's also settings where once they come in, you can choose to admit people, to say somebody's waiting to be admitted, and you can select all those settings. You can turn on or off in your back in the settings, but right now by default they've all been turned on by default, so you may want to go and adjust those.
And for the user experience, so now you're the host, you've set up everything the way you want it to be, the users come on, and as the host, it probably would be best to pre-call things for the user, because the user, if you're new to Zoom and you're using it for the first time with your clients, there's a strong chance that it could be new for other folks on there as well. So what do you recommend the host do for the user to make sure the users have the best experience when they're in the meeting as well?
I suggest a couple things. The first thing is know that the end user, what you see may not be what the end user sees, right? Because the end user has certain controls. And let me pull up, I'm gonna pull up and show you guys something here. Boom. This is basically a Zoom meeting I had. And let me just pull it up. Nope, sorry guys. This one.
All good.
There we go. All right. So what I want you guys to notice is this top right-hand corner where it says speaker view, okay? The speaker view allows who's ever speaking to be the big photo and everybody else has little photos on top, right? So I forget what the other one is called when it's not speaker view. It's something, but it's this top right-hand corner, right? And so as the presenter, you don't know if someone's watching in speaker view or the group view, right? I'm just going to call it group view. But they can control what they see. So in this particular shot here, this green bar, Zoom highlights who's ever speaking, right? So who's ever speaking has the green bar. If somebody was in speaker view, this big picture would be the one that they would see, and who's ever speaking would be the video that's showing, right? So in a meeting, they control whether it's speaker view or this view where it's showing a collage of people all in the meeting. They control that, not you. So as the presenter, it's important that you know that, and so that you may want to instruct people how they can switch between views so they can see the thing that's best for them, whether it's seeing everybody on the screen or just seeing who's speaking. The other thing is right next to it, this icon right here, that's the full screen view. And sometimes when you start your sharing of your screen or your PowerPoint, sometimes by default, Zoom goes into full screen view. And some people who are not used to their own computer don't know how to get out of full screen view, and they can't get around. Other times, if it's not in full screen view, it's just either a browser tab or an application. And sometimes when they click around to other applications, they don't know how to bring it back. And so sometimes you need to give people just a little bit of training at the beginning so that they, one, know how to get out of full screen view, and that how to look for the Zoom window if they lose it. So those are just some things that, the two things as far as the view. The other thing is right down here in the corner is the microphone, left-hand corner is the microphone and the video. These two buttons allow them to turn on and off their microphone and their camera. You as the presenter have controls over that as well. So a lot of times if you mute everyone and then you want questions, you need to instruct them to be able to unmute their mic so that they can ask the question.
Greg.
Those are the couple things that I would recommend you know ahead of as you're the presenter.
Greg, to take off the leave that screenshot up for a second and take off the banner at the bottom, the Tech Tuesday banner.
Yep.
So they could see, because I don't think I saw the buttons that you were referring to.
You are correct. You are correct. Boom.
Yeah, there we go. So the mute button, the video button down there, right at the bottom of the screen.
Yep, down here. It's the bottom left-hand corner of Zoom. And this is where it always is, the microphone and the camera controls.
Awesome. Awesome. Now, all right, Larry, thank you for being here. Shout out to Larry Graham. Awesome. Now, in terms of the platform, there's some things that we were discussing recently that I thought it would be good to share with folks, because they may not be realizing that there are other ways you could use the platform. So, for example, for years, as a PC user, I know as a Mac user, there's other types of software that you have. As a PC user, that you can use Camtasia to capture your screen and to create videos, but that's a software someone would have to go buy. And I'm not saying it's overly expensive, but it's mid-range in terms of price point. But if you're a Zoom subscriber, you could use Zoom. Hey, Natalie, thank you for joining us. Yes, this is being recorded, so you can always go back and catch it from the beginning. There's no problem at all. It'll be replaying on my Facebook page, Greg's Facebook page, as well as within our group, Entrepreneurs Digital Advantage. So if you go to techtuesday.com, Tech Tuesday or technologytuesday.com, don't want to mess it up, technologytuesday.com, you can get a link to the actual group, and it'll be replayed there as well. Thank you for joining us. So Camtasia lets you record your screen. So one of the things we were talking about is if people don't have Camtasia and they want to create their own videos, they want to use Zoom for just other things besides just the meeting. And we were talking about how you can have I don't know the term, but I came up with this idea of a non-attendee meeting. So you don't have anyone at the meeting except for you, which is you meeting. So you could use that. One, we talked about how you could use that to practice. So if you want to get a feel for what the meeting experience is going to be like, you can actually do a Zoom session with just yourself, and that'll be like a rehearsal. So you can actually rehearse the Zoom meeting without actually having people live in the meeting, to get a feel for the controls, to get a feel for the experience, And what you could possibly do is, if you invite yourself, if you had more than one computer, so if you have like a laptop and maybe a desktop or 2 laptops or some type of tablet, you can see your experience as the host and the user experience as well as like a practice run. Is that what you were talking about the other day?
Yeah, you can. You don't have to have attendees to practice with Zoom. You can just do it. You can just start a meeting yourself, have nobody watching, and be able to get familiar with the controls. If you do decide to jump on with another device like a tablet or your phone, just be careful of the feedback, because the audio coming out of your speakers into your phone back into the causes a feedback. So I would be careful about that part of it. I would make sure to mute the microphone on your device if you want to practice. But practicing by yourself is a great way to get familiar with the controls and seeing how it can work, and give you a lot of confidence going into a live meeting because you was able to rehearse before. And something I know that, like you said, Jerry, you go into the room. I do know that, speakers typically practice before they jump on stage, like anything. Even, athletes just don't go out on the field and do it. They practice. So with Zoom, you can start up a free session and just practice. And as far as the recordings are great as well, because I'm not sure if you can record with the free version, but I know with the paid version you can. But when you're doing the recording, there's 2 ways to record. You can record to the cloud, to their servers, or you can record to your computer. I personally like recording to my own computer so I can have that file and do whatever I want with it. If I wanted to send it to YouTube, or I can even edit it if I wanted to. So I personally like having it on my own, downloading it to my own machine, because it will give you that file right after the meeting, right after you hit end meeting. So those are the tips I have. Download it. Make sure you download it for yourself, because with the Zoom account, you only get so much space. And if you have several meetings, you will run out of space fairly quickly.
Right. So if you, it's like a thing of like I don't know if it was like a gig or something like that. I don't know what the paid account. It's not unlimited space. So you want to keep the videos, download them, so that keeps the account on the cloud. But speaking of what you just said, practicing. So a lot of times I want to see what people are seeing. So you practice in front of a mirror. So if you are recording yourself when you're practicing, you can go back and watch what it looks like. So you get to see what everyone sees. You get to see any type of tells or ticks or things that you're doing while you're presenting live that you may not want to do, to get your own personal feedback. So if you watch your recording that you did in the practice session, that will be almost like practicing in front of the mirror if you were rehearsing for an event where you were with people physically. But
Yep.
One of the things I wanted to bring up that you mentioned to me was with the recording, how Zoom could be like I don't think saying Camtasia replacement is a good idea, but a substitute. You can record yourself. So if there's no one on the meeting and you want to create your own video where you're recording yourself to use for later purposes, it could be something you want to create a product and you want to create a video of you teaching something that you could now offer people or sell to people later. You could use Zoom as a way to capture that content, capture your video content of you presenting. And because you can also share your screen, it can capture your screen as well. So a person could use Zoom in essence to create a product and they didn't have any other software to record. Is that correct or no?
Yes, that is correct. And even if you're on the free one, you can sign up for the paid version for 1 month, and then try to knock out all your recordings within that month, and then go back to the free version. They have no problems with you upgrading and downgrading as many times as you need. So just keep that in mind. If you're like, yeah, but I don't have the paid one, well, you can invest in the software, or you can invest $15 and for the next 30 days, knock it out. So that's
Right.
a little tip right there.
Right. Rent is basically like renting something for 30 days.
Yep.
Yeah. And with the recording, I remember something you mentioned to me is that even when you're doing a meeting with attendees, so we go back to what we started with. We said there was going to be three underused features, and one would be that you can practice or having a session when nobody else is there except for you. So a no attendee session. And with that no attendee session, you could record yourself, your actual on video experience and your screen experience to create your own video of your content that you can now utilize for whatever purposes you want, to create a course,
Yep.
to create a marketing video, to do a post or something, or content that you could use later. But then if you're having a meeting, one of the things that you shared with me was you can have incremental recording. So a lot of people just press record and they don't stop the recording until the whole session is done. But if you're going with a longer training, if you're on the paid, especially if you're on the paid model, we know on the free model, it's only 40 minutes. But if you're on the subscription model where you have longer sessions, you could stop and start the recording and have certain parts that aren't recorded, like question and answer sessions, and then pick the recording back up. So it's almost like when you're done, you have the recording segmented. So it's not one massive recording. It's like cut up in different tracks.
Exactly. This is something that I used for a course of mine that I was doing live, and it was a several-hour course. And I knew I wanted to have it recorded, and I learned that if I hit record and at the end of the teaching session or section that I wanted to teach, I could hit stop record and then do it again and again for any time I wanted to record a part of that long several-hour session. I could then at the end of it have several different files for the recording to upload into the members area or to create a product, where it wasn't just this long, big 4-hour video, humongous file that I would have to go back and edit later. I could then just take those chunks and upload them, or even add a title and an ending screen and then have them. And it cut down on the size of the video, and it cut down on all the editing after the fact. So that's a really good strategy and a good tip if you want to use that. But you have to be disciplined at remembering to hit the stop and start, because either one, you forget, and that's happened to me. I forgot to hit start, or I forgot to hit stop and then had a bigger video. So one of the secrets I did was I put slides in my presentation that literally said start video and then stop video, right, as slides. And so and I just said, hey guys, this slide is for me to remember to do this here, and that was that. So if you're going to do it, make sure you have something to remind you, because a lot of times when you get into into your presentation, or you're right, speaking, or you get into the flow, and you're not thinking about.
Yeah, I get it. It's like turning your mic off and leaving your mic on. You get off stage, you gotta remember, like, hit the button, turn it up. Yeah. And so there's two. The last one that we talked about earlier was the fact when you are recording, that people don't realize that you can record as two separate files. Like you can have a file that records that video, and then have a separate file that records the stuff that you're sharing. So normally when people record, they record everything together as one big file, but now you can have two separate files. So if you were, let's say you're creating a product, right? Now that's like two different components. You can say, well, you can get the video of the training, or you can get the video of the training and my slides. And it'd be like, it looks like it's two separate products that's now packaged together as one, rather than one product. And it could help, like increase the value of what you have. So a person could have just the video with their slides, which is their screen, and then they can have a separate video that's just them on the screen the whole entire time. That's a setting, right, that you can change?
That's correct. In your settings, so when you log into your Zoom account, left-hand side, go to settings, there's a place for you to decide how you want the recordings. By default, it's set for just one file. So you just get the one file. Basically, it takes your screen recording, make that the biggest, and put you tiny in the top right-hand corner. That's by default. But you can select the settings to record those files separately, so that you will have one, like if you're watching this right now, me talking would be one video file, Jerry would be another video file. And if we were doing desktop recordings, that would be a third video file. And you'd have all those separately. So then if you really wanted to edit and make the videos to have your very specific transitions and, you know, really take it to the next level as far as the final video produced, you could do that. And, you know, you have the ability to do that if you just go into the settings and change it. Now, not everyone needs to do that, but if you want to, you have the ability to. So that's what I wanted to make sure everyone got today.
I mean, which is really super. I mean, I didn't know you could do that until you told me recently. I mean, in my mind, it just recorded whatever was on the screen. I never thought about the fact that I could record it as separate files. Because you know, if you think about a person who wants to increase their level of professionalism, and they go to a person who's a true video editor, like a professional videographer type person, or if they have the software, they can do it themselves. But now with the editing part, you can cut things and splice things together in a certain way to make it look more professional rather than just the raw live cut. I mean, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that raw live cut, but you could, you know, spruce it up a little bit now that you have everything as a separate track. On the what they call it, post-production.
Mm-hmm.
On the post-production side, it'll make things a lot easier to transition and splice together if you have everything as a separate file or separate, you know, in music, I think they call them tracks, right? Separate tracks.
Yep.
That you can now put together or work with. And again, Greg, this goes back to what I was telling people in the beginning with your expertise. You always shared with something with me that I didn't even know that you could do. And a lot of folks don't have the benefit of being able to call you on the phone like I do. So that's why I said we should probably do these sessions. Not probably, we are doing it now. That we should have these sessions once a week, every Tuesday, Technology Tuesday, where we share these little insights, the things that we have behind the scenes that a lot of people aren't talking about this stuff because they don't even think about it. You know, one of the things I had to learn is that you will never learn the answers to the questions you don't ask.
Yep.
You will never learn the answers to the questions you don't ask. And a lot of people don't even know what they don't know. They don't even know what questions to ask. So they will never get the answers because they don't even know exactly what question to ask. You know, we know, like, okay, what product should I use? You get the product. But then once they have the product, they're not sure what to do with it. So our goal with Technology Tuesday is every week to share some insider secrets. And not just the tech stuff. Like, as an entrepreneur, we want to give you an advantage from our years of expertise. I've been self-employed now. It's probably like 16 years. I've been self-employed. Greg, probably a little bit longer than I have because, you know, he's a little bit older than me. You can see I have hair.
Hey, man, be nice.
But the goal in life is that you're not going to learn everything from your own experience. Wise people learn from the experiences of others. It's one of the things my father taught me a long time ago, is that smart people learn from their own mistakes, but wise people learn from the mistakes of others. And our journeys are here to benefit your journey. So we could just share some of the insider things, some of the mistakes that we made, the bumps and the bruises we had along the way as entrepreneurs to give you an advantage, and not just an advantage with your business from a digital perspective, but also just when it comes to marketing, sales. Those are some areas that we are going to be dropping knowledge on. So as we go into week 1, week 2, week 3, as we continue to have these on a weekly basis, it's going to just be more than just webinar platforms. It'll be more than just automation. It's going to be more than just that. We're going to have all types of advantages for you when it comes to running your business as a whole, from a marketing, sales, and technology side, to equip you with the tools and strategies that you need so you can have the success that you want. I mean, 2020 has been a really interesting year so far, and you can look at it from a positive thing or a negative thing. From a positive perspective, this, I don't know what you want to call it, hiccup, road bump, has given us time to reflect on what really matters, what really matters in your life, what really matters in your business, and to position yourself that when this whole thing is over, when we get past this new normal and get back to a new normal, because things are going to change again, that you are better positioned to maximize the revenue and maximize the profits in your business. So, Greg, is there anything that I left off that you wanted to throw in there that I missed that we want to make sure that folks got before we let go?
Yeah, man. If you guys have questions, man, join the group, right? Because right now, Jerry and I are able to get to your questions. So if you have questions, a specific question, go ahead, join the group and ask there, and I'll be able to answer that question for you and everybody else in the group. Because a lot of times the questions you have, other people have as well. So make sure that you join the group, and we can also, in addition to the broadcast, we'll also be sharing specific things within the group that only those in the group will be able to get access to. So I'm making myself available. I can't guarantee that Jerry will make himself available, but
I will. Yep, I will. Shout out to Michael. Shout out to Michael. Shout out to Sharon for tuning in. Yep. Thank you all for being here.
I really appreciate it. So yeah, join the group, ask questions, and let's make 2020 the best possible year it can be.
Yeah, definitely. Now, next week, we're going to be here again for not Taco Tuesday, but if you like tacos, you can bring your tacos to Tech Tuesday. I'm not against that. Unfortunately, I can't share in because we're all locked in our homes, but I would say, like, yo, send a brother a taco too, but I can't have that happening. But we'll be here Tech Tuesday at 2 next week as well to share our insights and to make sure that you get what you need to help your business, not just for 2020, but just to help your business for the next decade, for yourself, for your family. Because the goal for both Greg and myself, we're both fathers, we're both husbands, and our focus has always been, how do we maximize revenue? How do we maximize profit? But also, how do we maximize our time? I don't want to have to waste time getting things done when I could have systems to automate a process to eliminate manual labor. And one of my favorite words is labor. Well, that's more than one word, but eliminating manual labor. I don't like to work harder than I need to. I don't like to perspire or to break a sweat. It messes up these nice little curls. So anytime I can get a tool, technology, which is funny because, you know, Greg was mentioning about my lights in the background. There are all these types of ways that people just overlook in order to create experiences. Just adding a few minor touches. We all started doing these broadcasts from home. I got tired of seeing just a bunch of white stuff behind me. So with the press of one button now and a couple of dollars from for Amazon, you create a whole different look in the background. And these types of ideas, if you're going to be doing these Zoom meetings or any platform, live on Facebook or live on YouTube, is like, what can you do to just increase the level of professionalism to make yourself stand out from somebody else? What can you do to make your stream, your videos unique to you, your personal style? Because the key is you got to be yourself. You got to be who you are. These tools are nothing without you. And as the entrepreneur, you have to figure out, how do I utilize the tools to maximize my client experience, my customer experience? Because overall, that's what it's about. It's about your relationship with your client and your customers. And these tools are just creating another mechanism for us to communicate, because in this time, we can't be there physically with people, but this is just another way for us to connect. And how do you create in this world the same type of experience you were creating for people in the other world? When you were face-to-face with people, what did you want to create with them when you were face-to-face? How did you want to connect with them? And all those things need to be taken into account when you're using these platforms. So when you're doing your settings in Zoom, you want to be thinking to yourself, what type of experience do I want the user to have? And that will help you create the settings that you need to customize for your Zoom meetings, whether it be Facebook meetings or whatever it is that you're doing. So with that, Greg, anything else you want to add? If I wrap it up, we're good.
That's it. Thank you guys for coming. I appreciate, and I look forward to having another Technology Tuesday next week.
So for those of us who are going to be joining in, want to follow, you definitely want to connect with Greg. One of the things that Greg asked me before we even started, if there are folks who want to have a Zoom training, if you want to have a more detailed training on Zoom to get in, so Greg's actually showing you his screen and walking you through the settings, then definitely put a comment on the recording or a comment on the feed. You need to comment to myself, comment to Greg, send us a DM. We're both easy to find. I'm Jerry Franklin Poe, Greg Russell. We're on Facebook. And to subscribe, to follow us week after week after week, you definitely want to go to technologytuesday.com. It's technologytuesday.com. It's right at the bottom of your screen. It's hard to miss it. Go to that website, sign up, and you'll get notifications every week of when we're broadcasting, what's happening, anything new, to keep yourself in the loop. So until next week, my friends, have a great, wonderful week and be safe.
Be safe. Take care.